Aloha party people, you are listening to Inside the Desert Oasis Room, episode number 167. This episode is sponsored by Tandawai Rum, the world's largest rum producer and winner of over 170 international medals in the past 4 decades. Check out their webpage at tandawaiusa.com or follow them on Facebook or Instagram at tandawaiusa. This episode is sponsored by the Tiki Bar T-Shirt Club, where their monthly T-shirt designs pay tribute to a Polynesian bar or restaurant from days long past. Each design is available for a limited time and will never be produced again. For more information and to check out this month's shirt, visit tikibartshirtclub.com. On this episode of the Covid Chronicles, we chat with mid-century tiki and classic car enthusiast Keir Whitcher. Keir hails from the land down under, just outside of Melbourne, Australia. We talk about how the coronavirus has found its way to his part of the world and how they're doing their part to flatten the curve, and even explore a little bit about what the tiki scene is like in his part of Australia. As always, I hope you enjoy this episode as much as we did bringing it to you. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider helping us with your support during this challenging time. Stop by desertoasisroom.com to check out our merch or leave us a tip. Any purchase or donation, no matter the size, is totally appreciated and helps keep this show on the air. Alrighty, grab a cocktail and join me for a trip to the land down under. And give it up for our friend Keir Whitcher.
Hi Adrian, how are you?
Keir, aloha.
Aloha to you, sir. Are you having a good day there?
I am. Actually, I just finished dinner about an hour ago. It's almost 8 p.m. here.
Well, I've just finished lunch here, and it's nearly 1 o'clock in the afternoon here.
Okay.
1 o'clock tomorrow for you.
Tomorrow, right? Right. You're in the future.
But I don't know. I feel like we're living in the past a bit at the moment.
Isn't it crazy?
It's bizarre. I think really what's going on here is mirroring what's going on in the US. When I listen especially when I've listened to your podcast, actually when you were talking to Jason Lee.
Okay.
I was listening to that the other day, and it's pretty much the lifestyle changes seem to be fairly similar.
Yeah, I'm curious when it all really started falling apart over there. You know, for us, it started maybe about a month ago. And I don't know if we were behind the rest of the world or we were ahead of the rest of the world, because I know that for some of the Asian countries, they had been in lockdown for months before it even happened out here in the States.
Yeah, well, that's right. I think, just going by media and what have you, it felt like all the fighting over toilet rolls and everything happened. I think that's the universal sign of where the coronavirus issues started, doesn't it, in Western society? And I think that sort of happened a couple of weeks before it started happening for you guys.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think we were probably a couple of weeks ahead, but then again, we're also closer to Asia, I suppose, aren't we?
Right.
In that regard.
Do you guys get a lot of Asian tourists there?
Oh, absolutely. The Australian tourist industry, which of course is going to be in real bother. A lot of Japanese tourists, and a lot of Chinese tourists in the last sort of 4 to 5 years. There's been a lot of that, and we've got a lot of Chinese immigrants living in the major cities, and certainly it's in Melbourne and Sydney, the two biggest cities. So we also had a lot of pardon me, we had a lot of tourists and their families coming back from overseas, and a lot of Australians. A lot of their holidays, Bali, of course, and going up to Hong Kong and Singapore and the like. So there's a lot of movement in between.
I'm thinking that since you're closer to Asia, you were probably more prone to, Australia as a whole was probably more prone to contracting that virus sooner than we were, because it just seems more accessible. It's the other side of the world for us.
Yeah, I think so, and I think our ability to respond to it seems to have been fairly similar to the what's gone on in the US. Obviously, we don't have the same population, so the numbers, I can't remember what we are at the moment. I think we're about 25 million in total. So, and most of the for people that haven't been to Australia or don't know much about it, most of the population is based on the eastern seaboard. So Sydney's the biggest city. Melbourne, where I am, or just out of Melbourne, is the second biggest city, but not far behind Sydney. We're far classier as well. And then you've got Brisbane, and over on the west coast you've got Perth, which is the most isolated city, where I spent quite a few years.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, I spent quite a few years in Perth when I was in the Navy. The submarines are based over in the west, so I was in Western Australia for quite a few years.
I only know Perth from the Endless Summer, because I believe that they surfed there, but. Yeah, I don't know anything else about Perth, because all of my friends are in Melbourne, and I think I have one friend in Brisbane. But all you tiki people are out there in Melbourne. It seems. I don't think there's any tiki people anywhere else in Australia.
It's actually interesting. Yeah, well, Perth is a very different sort of. I mean, it's Australian, but it's like the lifestyle's very different in Perth. It's the weather's generally warmer than what it is here in Melbourne. Melbourne's a fairly cool climate. Like today, it's only what is it? It's 60 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm just doing a conversion in my head there, because we usually run on Celsius. But Perth's usually generally warmer. But great surfing down. You'd have a ball down Margaret River. Of course, is down south in Western Australia. There's great surfing all over. But
Australia. You guys are in. What's the season you're in right now? Isn't it? Aren't you coming into fall? Okay,
or autumn,
yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I know it's opposite of us, and
that's right.
We are in spring right now.
That's going to be one of the problems with Corona, as we're heading into winter.
Yeah.
So
there was a doctor that was cautioning that this may end up becoming a seasonal flu, and it's just another strain of the flu now. Right. And
correct.
That's kind of a scary thought, that we, if we make it through the season, the flu season, which is what it is right now here in the States, and we get into summer, it's supposed to slow down in the summer when the weather warms up. But if it returns in the fall and winter, and it's something we deal with every year, I'll tell you, if there's a vaccine that comes out, then I'll be taking that flu shot every season, because
the standard flu shot has just been released in Australia. And, usually it's no problem getting a flu shot. No, I haven't got it yet. I tried to book in the other day to get it, and they'd already run out. So they're bringing them. It's just been a bit mad this year. So, look, I'm not terribly concerned, but I mean. It will be a bit different this year, I think, to most years, and that a lot of people who didn't bother getting it before will certainly be getting it. I mean, a lot of people my age. I'm about the same age as you. I'm a 1968 model, so
am I.
Yeah. So I think people my age will certainly be. I
don't
getting it.
I don't normally get the flu shot, because in the past it's made me sick before.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of times, well, I shouldn't say a lot of times, but all the time, they're typically guessing which strain of the flu they make the shot with. and they don't always get it right. So maybe the strain of flu that goes around this season is not the vaccine that they've prepared for this season, and I don't know if it's a waste to take it anyway, but
yeah, it's hard to know, isn't it? You sort of I'll go and get it this year. If I lived in Queensland or I was over in Perth, I probably wouldn't bother. Maybe,
sure.
but down here, where I am is a little town called Daylesford, and it's about 60 miles out of Melbourne, and it's extremely cold winters. Not usually snow. We sometimes get snow, but we're sort of on the edge of it. So hot summers and really cold winters, and sort of low levels of light in the middle of winter, and so you take your vitamin D supplements and all that sort of thing.
Oh wow!
It's only for a few months where it's worst, but of course this year, all the borders are closed now in the States, which is something which has never happened in Australia before. So you can't go. Usually, I'll go off to Port Douglas or Palm Cove up in far northern Queensland. For a break in winter, just to get out of the cold. Yeah. Well, we don't know whether we're going to be able to do that this year. So sort of probably got to take all precautions. And even though I'm pretty fit and healthy, and try and keep my exercise up and what have you.
Sure.
I think I'll be taking the flu shot this year just to,
of course,
just to make sure. Just to make sure. Maybe I might have to have. Someone was saying, it's good to have, more alcohol. That'll kill it off.
Right.
So, I probably need to ramp that up. Maybe not.
So are you guys all locked down also there in Melbourne?
Yes.
So restaurants, bars?
The restrictions are you can go out if you're working. Of course, a lot of people have lost their jobs. So, again, it's mirroring what's happened in the US.
Yeah.
Of course, the hospitality industry's basically shut down. But if you're working, if you're allowed to go out and get exercise, so you can go cycling, you can go walking, all the gyms and all that sort of thing is shut. But you can,
just like here,
and swimming pools are shut and what have you. But you can still go out. But yesterday there was a story here in Melbourne where. When you're going for your license, before you can go for your driver's license when you're a youngster, you've got to do a certain amount of hours, and I don't know what it is, before you're allowed to go for your license. It's all ticked off, So usually people do it with their parents. And, of course, at the moment there's nowhere near as much traffic as there normally is, which I'm assuming is the same over there. And a mother took her daughter out to do some hours, and they got pulled over by the police and said, well, this is unnecessary travel. Here, have a $1,600 fine.
Wow. Wow.
I couldn't believe it. So I think I think that was the main thing on the news last night. I think they're starting to look it's like all news services. They're starting to struggle to find something interesting to report now. But so, yes, it's basically any unnecessary travel is you're not allowed to do.
So they haven't started finding us here yet. I mean, if you were to look out onto the roads, and if you listen to some of the previous episodes I recorded for this series, I've mentioned that I do a 3.5 mile walk every day. It changes based on the route, and sometimes when I get to the main road, it's busy like a normal day. But recently I've been noticing that it's not. Now I'm noticing that it's really a lot less busy than it was before. But if I have to go to the market, I will see a lot of cars out there, like more than I think there should be. It just feels like that there's too many people out there still.
Oh, I think that that's a bit like that too. I mean, certainly I was had to go down to Melbourne for work last week, and it's also school holidays here at the moment until the end of this week. It's usually quiet, a bit quieter anyway. But it was very quiet. But there was still a lot of all the construction work. There's a lot of construction work going on in Melbourne at the moment, so there didn't seem to be any stoppage of that at all. But yeah, it's certainly very interesting. But yeah, no one's going on holidays and all the rest of it. And this little town where I am is a real holiday town as well.
Okay.
So it's got a lot of restaurants and cafes, and of course they're all shut, or some of them are doing takeaway.
Yeah.
Aren't they? So, but I don't know how sustainable that is for these places in the long term. They're paying big rents, and
sure.
I don't know how pardon me, how sustainable that is in the long term. But anyway, we'll wait and see. I hope they all survive. When we come out of the other side of this, you certainly don't want.
Do too.
You don't want your place to look like a ghost town or anything. You know what I mean? So
I don't know how bad it's going to be when this is all said and done, because I know that there are a lot of small businesses that are possibly or probably not going to make it.
Yes,
and this is going to change the way that we live for sure. I mean,
absolutely.
looking at how we're today now, right? Where we're wearing face masks and we're wearing gloves and all of this out in the public. When they say that it's okay to not do that anymore, I still might have a little bit of that in my head to be
absolutely
cautious, right?
Yeah. I think so, Adrian. I mean, I know from the work front. I was just chatting to a friend of mine this morning, and he's saying that he probably, when all this is over and done with, he's working from home at the moment.
Sure.
And he said it may be the case that he never has to go back and work from the office again, or he might have to go to the office once a week, or something like that.
I've read a lot of that too. People saying that, and I guarantee, at least here in the States, I guarantee the insurance companies will have figured some kind of new policy out and call it pandemic coverage or something.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So that if you lose your job or your sources of income because of a pandemic, you will have insurance coverage for it. So there's a whole new product, I think, that will be offered.
Absolutely. And I mean,
it's going to change the world, right? This thing that we're going through. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think our government has done a reasonable sort of job so far. I mean, it's always easy to stick the boot into any government, isn't it? No matter what side of politics. But I think our government's done a reasonable sort of job so far, and with in regards to giving payments to people. They're giving a lot of payments to businesses to keep staff on. Which is fantastic, and they've brought in laws. People can't be evicted from their homes if they're renters and they don't own their own home, that sort of thing. So I think that's terrific. But yeah, it'll be, and even things like the airlines. Like for an island state, we're extremely dependent on our airline, on Qantas especially. Sure. So, of course, an airline goes into trouble overnight when this happens. So, but they'll all get bailed out, I'm sure. It'll be all fine, and we can all go on holidays to Hawaii and everywhere else again soon.
Yeah. So, has your job been affected?
No. I'm pretty good. I effectively work for myself in manufacturing and what have you. So I'm pretty good. Things are a bit quieter, but that's not an issue. And I've got some mates up here. I sort of go in my sort of quasi retirement type thing. I drive down to Melbourne for them a couple of days a week and deliver some free-range eggs. So which is quite nice. Actually, it gets me out of the house. Yeah. And so that, of course, that's all still really busy. In fact, it's gone berserk. So that's kind of good. So life hasn't changed too much for me. That's good. You just got to be more careful. Can still get more time to go and play with my car and do bits and pieces around the house and drink a bit more good Australian red wine, that sort of thing.
Oh, there you go. I was going to ask if you picked up any new hobbies or anything by having more time at home, but if it's life as usual.
But I'm just sort of maybe spending a little bit more time on on the ones that I've got. So, but of course, I can't go driving the old MG around town because it's on historic registration, and I don't think you're allowed to drive historic cars around at the moment because you're obviously not,
because it's leisure.
Yeah. So I occasionally do drive it down to the shops, but generally speaking, I take the old Subaru down to the shops. So I'm not going to tempt. I certainly don't want a $1,600 fine. That's that's not something I'm keen on. But look, life hasn't changed too much for me. It's just next week my daughter goes back to school. She's only 10, so it's not. It's not at the sort of the critical end of school phase or anything like that. So but we're assuming theoretically she's going back to school, but all the schools were shut the week before the school holidays started. So I think that'll all be done online. So just there'll be a lot more time. I'll go back to.
So she is online then. So she's not going to be actually in school. She's going to be doing instruction online. Yeah, they're doing that out here too. Yeah, everything's online now. Yeah. Well,
there's a lot of I don't know whether they're talking about it there in the US. Of course, our school year sort of follows the calendar year. So, of course, the kids that are doing their final year of school, year 12 as we call it here. They're trying to work out what they're going to do. Are they going to cancel the year, and are they going to sort of redo it all again next year, or are they going to sort of extend the year and the kids will do their final exams in sort of January or February as opposed to doing them in November?
Right.
So it's all those sorts of things. It's amazing, isn't it? The planet, the country sort of stops for a couple of weeks, and all of a sudden there's so many other things to take into account.
And here, I don't think they even know yet what they're going to do on that regard here, because my daughter is a senior in high school, which is 12th grade, and they sent out an email to all of the parents from the district, and I guess the main person, I don't know what you would call that person, the president of the district, or I'm using the term I'm using is not correct, but the head of the district sent out a note that tried to address all of the different issues, and of course that one was the issue that was most concerning for us, because my daughter was supposed to be graduating in a few months, but instruction has been frozen at the moment, and I think they're still trying to figure out how they're going to address all of that. So.
Yeah, it's a pretty tough time, and it's tough enough for kids at that age as it is with all the study and having to worry about all these things. It's it's very, very, very tough for them. I think when they're like my daughter's age at 10 and 11, it's nowhere near as dramatic. Whereas, the worst thing for her at the moment, she can't have any of her friends over to play, or her go over to her friends' places to play. Whereas when it's your daughter's age, well, it's far more serious business, isn't it? So
well, I mean, it's it's a memory that she can tell her children.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I feel bad for her, but
significant things, really in the last 50 years. My parents, when they retired, they bought a place up here, sold the house in Melbourne, and they moved up here. And Dad's 87 and Mum's 81, and they're in really good health and what have you. And of course, you're not supposed to be sort of seeing them, and of course, they're in that age group where they're far more susceptible to contracting the virus.
Sure,
I sort of go over and I have a drink on the balcony and just look in at them, and we have a chat that way. But they're sort of like, well, we lived through World War II, albeit as children, admittedly. But they're sort of like, oh, well, you just got to do what you're told. And but that's that different generation, isn't it? Where, every generation, certainly in our lifetime, there hasn't been anything of this sort of magnitude, I don't think. So,
it's crazy.
Oh, it's crazy times, and it'd be interesting to see what everything's like when it is all over. And you know, hopefully, I was supposed to come to I was hoping to get to the States this year.
That would have been nice to see you.
To go on a holiday, and I haven't been to the States in quite a few years. But fortunately, I hadn't got around to booking tickets or anything like that. But maybe next year. We'll wait and see.
Well, I have a trip to the Cook Islands booked for September. So I'm hoping that we return to a bit of normalcy by then.
I think that it might be right on the edge there. Hopefully,
I think so. Out. So hopefully it'll work out. But we'll see what it's looking like, and if I have to cancel that trip or postpone it for a future date, then I'll do what I have to do. But I know people that have been uprooted in much worse ways. You know, we're talking about our kids and the sacrifices they have to make. It's not as dire as maybe some people that are going to be losing a business and
absolutely,
or trying to recover from anything that's going to affect them. So.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. If the worst thing we've got going on is we're not going on a holiday, we're doing pretty well. It's as you say, people are losing businesses and all sorts, and all the strains on family life that go with all those things as well. And even just again when you were listening to the interview you did with Jason Lee. For performers, for people in the arts. That's if they're, I mean, as he was saying, he's got his hand in different sort of pots, he's got different things, so he's okay. But, for a lot of people, if that's their only source of income, well, it's taken away from you overnight, isn't it? And all the Tiki Oasis and all the, in the Tiki community, look at all the events there that they've all either been cancelled or they're trying to work out when they're going to be put on. Well, it's a lot of money and time that's sort of gone. It's we were very lucky. I'm on the committee of a car show and pin-up show and called Dalesford Motor Fest that we have here, and it's a pretty big event. And fortunately, it was in February. And we were very lucky to get through. It was really only a few weeks, and we just sort of think, if we hadn't, only if we'd been a month later, well, it might not have happened at all. And so.
Did they give you guys an estimate of when they expect normalcy to return for you?
Not really. I mean, people are. I was hoping Donald Trump said it was all going to be done by Easter, didn't he? So I was hoping
and everyone out here was saying, no, that's not realistic.
I really don't see how long this lockdown phase remains. I'm sort of hoping it's over by, sort of May or June, what some people are saying, but
that's what they're saying
other,
here.
Other people are saying others. So who knows? I mean, the curve has certainly flattened here.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's flattened each day in the last 3 or 4 days. I think, here in Victoria, here in Melbourne, I think we're a city of 5.5 or 6 million. So I'm trying to think of what a city in the US of that size would be. What would that be? Like Chicago size or something like that?
Like LA is about that size, I think. I don't know off the top of my head the population estimate of Los Angeles. I want to say it's somewhere around those numbers.
Yeah. Well, we only had 33 new cases yesterday.
Oh, okay.
And it's been going down each day. Now, whether that continues, I don't know. But I suppose they don't want people to, take their foot off the gas either.
Of course,
I suppose. They want people to, don't want people to get complacent about, doing the right thing and take off again. So I really don't know, Adrian. It's very strange, and I can't think of anything in my lifetime that's been anything like it. It's quite bizarre.
No, it is quite bizarre. And here in the States, they still don't have enough test kits. So the numbers that we're seeing, I don't think are entirely accurate. Because
that's been the same issue here too.
Because once everybody really starts getting tested, once they have enough test kits to go around to the people that have symptoms, and again, they're only testing people with symptoms. If you're asymptomatic, then people don't think to go in to get tested, right? So
that's right.
Even then, the numbers will still be inaccurate. But so they say that it's going to get worse because we just don't have enough tests to go around yet. So the numbers are not going to really reflect what is out there. But yeah, I mean,
I think that's very much the same here. I believe the situation's got better in the last week in regards to the amount of test kits, but it certainly was one of the big talking points that there was a massive shortage, and I suppose it's a huge logistic issue, isn't it?
Sure.
To get that sort of volume of, and also the trained personnel. I mean, the other thing is we've had a couple of hospitals where all of a sudden you've got nursing staff or people at the hospital, whether they're nursing staff or doctors or what have you, have become infected. So you're losing staff, and
that's right.
Not in big numbers, fortunately. Not like the horror stories you hear out of Italy and Spain and what have you. But yeah, enough to be of a real concern. So I feel like I just sort of get that feeling we've got away with things a little bit better than possibly you guys in the States. I feel like that's the way things are. I think the isolation of our cities as well, in that they're long distances from each other, probably
that
helps as well.
Yeah. Let me ask you.
Probably makes a difference.
You guys had a giant wildfire out there earlier this year.
Absolutely, that was here in Victoria and extending around into New South Wales. So so Victoria is Melbourne's the capital city of Victoria. Sydney's the capital of New South Wales. Enormous fires. And so we'd really only just got over that.
So that's what I was going to ask. I mean, are you still dealing with that too? Because that's heartbreaking. The wildlife that was lost and the devastation, and of course, just the way that a fire devastates.
Oh, it's massive. Well, you guys know all about it. You have them over there. We call them bushfires. You guys call them forest fires, don't you? Wildfires over there.
Yeah, they're seasonal, so we get them in the summertime when it gets hot, and on windy days, all it takes is a little spark.
That's right.
Right, someone throws a cigarette out a car window or something,
exactly,
and the winds
and bang up it goes.
The winds just push it up the mountain, and then if you've ever been to the Los Angeles area, there are a lot of communities. I have, so you're familiar with a lot of communities being built in these hillsides.
Yeah, that's right.
And so it will devastate a community, But
it's amazing. It's the bushfires this year. I mean, we had it'll be 10 years or so ago now. They call it Black Saturday. It was horrendous, and more lives were lost then.
Wow.
The fires this year were horrendous all down Gippsland. There were people trapped on beaches. We had the Navy coming down from Sydney to evacuate people off beaches because the fire was surrounding towns, little coastal towns. It was horrendous. And we have a lot of American and Canadian firefighters come out and helping Australians go over during your time as well. So it is absolutely horrific. The amount of wildlife that's lost is just beyond comprehension.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely heartbreaking. And a lot of those people, a lot of those little towns, again, they're tourist towns, not dissimilar to the town that I live in. And they'd be just getting back just attempting to get back on their feet, and now they've been hit with this. So your heart goes out to them. It's just a case of, you'd be sort of thinking, what can I possibly do to, I think one of the big issues that's going to come out of the corona crisis, or whatever we want to call it, is a lot of people are going to suffer with some pretty serious mental health issues as well. Yeah. I think. I think people around our age group. I mean, I know I've got mates from my time in the Navy and other friends and what have you that are, that the age that we're at, they suffer from some mental health issues, just depression and what have you.
PTSD.
But this is certainly exacerbating those sorts of things too.
Yeah.
So I think that's something we've got to, it's not hard to pick up a phone and ring a mate, is it? And, say, how you going?
It's a great piece of advice. Yeah.
But, it's going to be, hopefully, it won't be that long and, we can get back to a bit of normal behaviour. In the meantime, had the Riptides playing this morning.
Oh, awesome.
So it's, absolutely. So
I love it.
I keep hitting him up. Come on, when are you going to do an Australian tour? Please.
Right. I'll put the bug in his ear too, and we'll see if we can get him out there. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think that it'll be a while before any of that happens, but
I think so.
I suspect that once normalcy returns, that things will ramp up pretty quickly.
I think so. I think people will be dying to get out and.
I think so too.
They'll be dying just to get out and see anything. I don't think. I don't think they'll care what it is. I'll go and watch the Titanic at the cinema again. That's how bad, But I'm sort of hoping. I think we're tiki culture's maybe getting a bit of a better hold here in Australia. I'm hoping. So. We've got a few bars around the country. There's not many. There's the Luau in Melbourne's probably the. Yeah,
and that's the second location.
Benchmark.
Yeah. I've been wanting to find my way out there to Melbourne, and I just haven't done it, and I regret not having gone there before the first location of the Luau shut down.
Yeah.
Thankfully, they reopened, but and
it's terrific too. It's I won't judge on how accurate it is to true tiki culture or anything like that, but it's fair. I've only been a couple of times, but I was actually going to be going down last week and catching up with a mate, but of course that hasn't happened. A mine that was going to be there, but it's really terrific. It's got a really good feel to it. And they're good people. And there's another one in Sydney called Jacoby's I've been to, which is pretty good. And there's another one I went to in Cairns, and Cairns is in far northern Queensland, so it's a long way away. It's up in crocodile country, and there's a little bar there called Flamingos, and they do some good cocktails there, especially in 100-degree heat outside. So it's the right temperature to Mai Tai your life away, sort of thing.
Yeah. So, and I think there's the one I think it's in Adelaide, Hades Hula House.
Yes.
Is it
Hades Hula House?
Hades,
I haven't been there.
Yeah, so...
I haven't been there. That's supposed to be pretty good too, and a good crew of people as well.
Yeah, a friend of ours out here, one of the bartenders from the Tonga Hut, he helped set up the cocktail menu out there. So... Yeah, he brags about it all the time. So
Adelaide's a good little city too. Much smaller city than Melbourne or Sydney. But yeah, it's a good little city. It's look, for Americans, I think when this all goes down, if people have got some money saved, the Australian dollar's in the doldrums a bit at the moment. I think we're about 60 cents to the US dollar.
Oh, wow.
It makes for a good value holiday.
Yeah.
Tell you what. Admittedly, you've got to sit on a plane for 24 hours, which is about as exciting as doing dentistry on yourself. But it's be
worth the trip.
Good value for money, at the moment. So
I got to find my way down there.
Plan a holiday out here. It's you go to a few different places. You have a good time.
Yeah, I've got to find my way down there one of these days. So
you'll get here one day.
When this whole pandemic thing is over, I'm going to start doing some research, and I'll figure it out, and I'll let you know. Maybe we can do some kind of a meetup or something. So
absolutely. Oh no, it'd be lovely too. We'd
I'd
love to
that.
host you here. I was
I'd
always
love that. I'd love to see.
very
I'd love to see the community out there. I mean, I know a few
good fun.
of the tiki folks from Melbourne, so.
You see, I don't. I mean, I know. I sort of we all sort of follow each other on, or I follow people on Instagram. Instagram's probably the the best thing for tiki, I suppose, the tiki community, isn't it? And Facebook and what have you. So I sort of follow a lot, but not living in Melbourne as such. I don't know that many people. I've got a friend over here in Kyneton. He's a mad mug collector, and so I chat with him, and I've got a few friends that are into Martin Denny and a bit of Arthur Lyman along with myself. So the tiki it's not as well organised as it is in the States, but I feel like it's building up a bit of a following. So
I think so. I mean, we see stuff happening with our friends in Australia. So
there's some good mug makers and everything as well, like Danielle Mann.
I was just going to mention
she's
her.
up in Brisbane.
Oh, she is? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought she was Melbourne too.
Her mugs are fabulous. I haven't got one of hers yet, but I'm sort of I keep my eye out. I'd like to get one of hers, and there's some good artists around. A friend of mine, Glenn Robinson, known as Grob Cartoons, he does some good tiki stuff, sort of in a shag sort of style. That sort of style. I got a few of his pieces, and there's a great gallery in Melbourne, Outre Gallery. And, pardon me. They stock a lot of stuff too. So I think
I know that gallery
down there.
Shag did some mugs for them ages ago, a few years back. But I didn't know they were still around.
Yeah, they got two galleries. They got two galleries in Melbourne, one right in the centre of the city, and one in one of the suburbs in Fitzroy. And so I've got a few shag prints and a bit of Derek Yanniger stuff as well, of course, and some Yanniger mugs and Tiki Farm, and they stock mugs and everything as well. So that's pretty cool. So I sort of every time not every time I'm in Melbourne, but every time I go there, even if I can't afford to buy a new print, I'll grab a mug. It's the cheaper alternative. Right, the biggest problem is the cost of freight. From the States. And with the Australian dollar at the moment, I was going to buy some mugs. I really wanted that. I liked a bit of oddball stuff, and there's a Tiki Farm's got that Red Baron mug out at the moment.
I'm not familiar with that one.
And I was quite keen on getting that, and the cost of the mug was all right, but then when it came to the freight, I'm like,
it always is.
It's a killer.
It is.
So I'm
it
sort
is.
of like, I'll wait till I get them in at Outre, and then I really like the Tiki Farm mugs. I've got a lovely big green one. It's a really tall one, and it was from made for the Newport Hotel in Western Australia. Now, I believe they had some sort of tiki bar within the hotel, and this is some years ago. And that just came. I found that mug just at a little, or a friend of mine actually found it down in one of the country areas here. So, which was very strange, but it's a beautiful mug. But I like their mugs, and some of I love the Eakin Bookham mugs, and it'll be dangerous if next time I come to the States, I'll have to take another suitcase with me.
I mean that's typically what I do is I'll bring a backpack. I'll put that in my luggage, and then whatever mugs I get, I'll put in the backpack so that I'm carrying them, right? And they're not in the luggage that's thrown around by a baggage handler. So
that's got just the ultimate level of disappointment by the time you get home written all over it, hasn't it? No, you did that. But,
and so far so good.
They're great mugs. I love them. So,
that's good. That's good.
I have to just temper my spending at times between the car and mugs. So
I get it.
What do I need? Do I need to buy something for the car, or do I buy something for the mugs? It's all a bit of fun.
Sometimes it's a tough choice.
Absolutely.
Well, Keir, I appreciate the conversation.
My pleasure, Adrian. It was lovely to talk to you.
Yeah, you too. And one of these days, I hope to meet you in person. I'd love to either, if I get down there or you get out here to Los Angeles, we got to get some hang time. I'd love to have
Absolutely.
you at the Desert Oasis Room and make you a cocktail.
Oh, that would be absolutely fantastic. And I'll bring some. What can I bring you from Australia? I'm trying to think. I have to bring you some good. Do you drink red wine?
Yeah, I'll drink red wine. You don't have to bring me anything, but I mean, it would be great if you did. But you don't have to. You know, I'll tell you this: every time I go to the Cook Islands, I try. I put the Vegemite on toast, and I just can't. I can't enjoy it. And I try. And
I'll tell you a secret, Adrian.
Okay.
I cannot stand it.
You
Vegemite,
can't. I thought all Australians loved it. I thought it was like peanut butter for you guys, and
that is a complete and utter myth.
Okay.
Mind you, I'll keep an eye out the front. There might be some sort of pitchfork gang might come and set to me for saying it, but I can't. So my father loves it. My father absolutely loves it, and he looks at me when I look at him in disgust when he's eating it. And I always say to him, I said, it tastes about as good as it looks, Dad. And he just looks at me. He says, "What's wrong with you?" But no, I can't stand it. It's horrible. Don't feel bad about it, and don't let Australians tell you that it's good stuff. Because, it's healthy for you, but that's about it.
You're the first Australian that's said that to me, because and I've thought, like, what am I missing? But so I guess what I'm getting at is, if you're going to bring something like that. Bring something that is Australian, that changed my mind. Bring me something maybe
I'll bring Tim Tam biscuits. I don't know whether you've ever.
I've heard of those.
Listening now, and they'll say yes.
But I don't think I've had them.
Biscuits.
Yeah. So I've heard of Tim Tam biscuits, but I don't think I've had them. So that would be awesome.
They are outstanding.
But yeah, I'd love to host you here, and if you're able to come out sometime, let me know ahead of time, and I'll open up a couple days, and maybe I can be a tour guide for you too.
That would be amazing. I'll certainly try to get there sooner than later, Adrian. We hope we see you down here in.
I'd love that too.
In Australia, or any of the tiki community. It's if they're getting down to Australia, they have a great time. They'll have a lot of fun. They'll have a lot of fun.
Yeah,
And we love showing guests around as well. Like the same as whenever I've spent time in the States. I think we're fairly similar beasts. I think Americans and Australians, we love.
I love doing that too.
Showing our friends different places.
Yeah. I'll show you some fun places, and we'll do some stuff that maybe is off the radar. that aren't in the tour books.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
And get on the bike too. I heard you talking to Jason about getting a bike.
Yeah, I'd like to. I have a beach cruiser, but I don't have anything with gears. So. Maybe.
Just don't go riding with him. I wouldn't go riding with him, and I ride fairly regularly.
So we'll see what I end up with, but
yeah, that's right.
I'll reach out to you for some advice too. So
our pleasure, Adrian.
Well, Keir, before I wrap up, is there anything that you'd like to throw out there for our guests? Do you want to throw out any links or any social media or anything like that?
If they look up, I follow a lot of people on Instagram, so they might know me as McLennan Cycles. McLennan Cycles. They go, oh yeah, that guy's liked my pictures before. So people are more than welcome to follow me, and if they're ever thinking about coming down to Australia, please, don't hesitate in contacting me. I'm always happy to, give people some advice on anything like that. But apart from that,
Perfect.
Roll along like that, Adrian.
Perfect. Well, thank you again, Keir, and
my pleasure.
Stay safe out there, and I hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you, Adrian, and for you and all your listeners. Stay safe and behave yourselves, and just drink good quality cocktails, and you'll get through this fine. Sure.
There we go. Words of wisdom. Alrighty, Keir. Thanks again.
Cheers, mate. Good
Cheers.
on you. Bye.
Cheers.